Welcome to the Monday Advantage. This week we're going to focus on boosting your sales. And in sales, right at the front end, when you are getting involved with a prospect, when a prospect is a target, there's someone that's in your lead list and you're going after them. Perhaps you've made one or two initial contacts. Point being, they're still a prospect. They're not a suspect, right? They're not an eligible client. They are a prospect. So when you reach out to them, you're going to encounter three levels of need potentially. The first level is called a latent need, and a latent need is a need that is lying dormant. It hasn't surfaced yet. It's a need that's in the background, not the foreground. Then there's an active need. These are the individuals that they know they have a problem, but they don't quite know how to solve it. And then you have a vision of a solution. This is what we call a level 3 need. This is the individual that knows they have a problem and they're pursuing an active solution. So let's look at all three and what kind of sales strategy you might incorporate to best establish a successful path. If an individual has a latent need, and by the way, that's 95% of your conceptual sales territory, so you can see the opportunity of that. It has great girth. It has a lot of potential. You have to create a demand for what you do. What a lovely responsibility. You see, most of us think prospecting is harvesting on an active need, finding a need and then providing a solution. But that holds you back. In the complex world of today, the buyer really doesn't know his problem very well. Oftentimes, they're very convinced, almost righteously, that they have an active need when they really haven't looked at the fullness of their problem. So then your value point or your point of entry becomes helping them think about the problem. Oftentimes, I have prospects say, JD, I found it more helpful to really think about my problem instead of the solutions to solving my problem. Just the conversation we had gave me great direction and insight. It shows that sales today is about transformative conversations. If it's not about that, then you sound like, walk like, you're interchangeable with every other salesperson, and you can't have that. It's too limited. So how do you advance them to an active need? Well, you help them create a need for what you do. So you would need to prospect by throwing pain or maybe helping them deny perfection. In other words, what are the things that your competition won't do and can't do? And by you asking questions like, I'm curious, when you blank, so that blank, are you comfortable with that process? In other words, you position your buyer so that you assume they're already doing something that they should have a privilege of you doing it for them, and they deny that perfection. For example, in coaching, I might say, by the way, when you sit down and manage your time and you identify 6 very clear priorities every single day so that you don't get lost in all the stuff, are you comfortable with that process? Now, I know that they're probably not doing that, but they're beginning to compare the criteria of what I'm talking about to any other predator who wants their attention, any other competitor. And now I'm kind of hitting the reset button on potentially the evaluation matrix through which they actually buy. The problem is that when we get in too late, when we get into a buyer situation where they're shopping, they're already pursuing a vision of a solution, we haven't participated in activating that need and then helping them find a vision of a solution. No, they got too far. They got along because of another seller influencing them, or they did all the research on the internet and they have their own little matrix of evaluation, and bingo. They're peeking out of that prism and they're evaluating it based on it. And you say, oh my gosh, how do I deal with a person like that? You have to find a way to re-engineer their existing vision of a solution and bias it to your services. And that is a real trick. So coming up in the Monday Advantage, we're going to talk more about techniques to be able to re-engineer that and how you're going to do it to get in the power position. So this week, remember the 3 levels of need. Don't get the wrong read on your buyer. If they have a latent need, go ahead. You've got to actively create a demand for what you do. You've got to throw out some things that are problems or situations that your buyers are having and see if they're having that too. If they have an active need, be careful. You may want to pursue a solution with them that they don't know how to solve what they have, but through a consultative discussion, you'll be able to help them position your solutions into their world. And if they have a vision of a solution, you got to re-engineer it and then bias it to your product or services. So we got a lot of work to do here, but it will really make a difference by pinpointing accurately where your buyer is currently positioned. That'll pretty much predict how things play out. So this week, let's maximize your selling.